And away we go. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Radioactive Sports Podcast. We're coming here live here from StreamYard, and we are doing this here live here on Facebook, on Twitter. I know it's preferred as X now, but I'm sorry. I'm already forgetting the new owner of Twitter, but I'm sorry that I am not saying it properly. I personally don't care if I am mispronouncing the new name. Oh, X. Ah, it's X. Okay. A precious little X. It's Twitter, people. It's Twitter. And we're also doing here on I was going to say YouTube. I was about ready to say Twitter again. But we're also coming on YouTube as well, live right now. I am Justin Parrington, the host of this podcast. So hope you guys are having a fun Monday, especially everyone in Chiefs Kingdom here in Kansas City. It's been a wild scene. It was a wild scene yesterday as the Chiefs demolished the Chicago Bears 41-10. We'll talk about that. We're going to start with that today. I do want to give some thoughts on a couple other NFL games yesterday. Those being of the Denver Broncos Miami Dolphins game, which was a laugher. Sorry to all Broncos fans out there. I know I have at least one friend that's a Broncos fan, and I have a couple of family members that are Broncos fans too. So when I do talk about the Broncos, just know that I feel sorry for you. Even though as a longtime Chiefs fan, honestly, watching the Broncos losing since they won it all in 15, it's kind of been a long time coming because us people here in Kansas City, we had to endure the Broncos being really good for years, watching John Elway rubbing in our face all the time, and then of course Peyton Manning was very successful for a short little run with the Broncos. So you had all of that. But the Broncos have not been very good for a long time, and it's still going on. We'll talk about the record-setting game for the Miami Dolphins as they became the fourth team in NFL history to score at least 70 points in a ball game. First team to do it since the 1940 Chicago Bears. Yes, you heard me correct there. You heard me right. The Chicago Bears in 1940 scored 70 they scored 73 points, and that came in the NFL championship game against the then Washington Redskins. I know, sorry for saying that name, but that was the name back in 1940. Okay, the Commanders. Is that better if I say Commanders, or should we just not give it a name because they're going to be changing the name anyway next offseason? I mean, let's just. I'm so tired of all of this. But back then, it was the Redskins. 1940 NFL championship game. The Chicago Bears hung 73 points on them. That's the most, but the Dolphins scored 70 points yesterday. We'll talk about the Broncos. Sean Payton, we'll talk about him. The Raiders we'll talk about as well because I'll just tell you this to all Chiefs fans out there and to everybody. I'm so grateful that Andy Reid is the head coach of the Chiefs every day, and especially especially last night watching the Raiders just absolutely choke away a potential victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers, all because Josh McDaniels, the head coach, is a complete buffoon. He is an embarrassment to the NFL of head coaches. Other head coaches, be grateful who you are, what you are. Be grateful that you're not Josh McDaniels because that dude is a train wreck on his own. Of course, you can leave comments while I am discussing whatever it is I'm talking about. We're going to talk some college football to wrap it up as All three local schools got victories on Saturday. KU beat BYU in BYU's first ever Big 12 game. K State also played a new member of the Big 12, that being Central Florida. A 44-31 victory for the Wildcats, even though I am not going to say that the 31 points really counts because Central Florida scored in garbage time. Garbage time to me is it's very I don't want to say lazy, but it's garbage time points is so unreal to me. It's like not even a factor in the football game. So I don't know why these even count, even though I mean, it's part of a game. So I mean, they're going to count regardless. But to me, garbage time points it's such a crapshoot. It's such a waste of time. It's a joke. So I'm not gonna even count. I'm gonna say K State won 44-24, even though it was 44-31 K State, but they got the win. That's the point. And of course, the Missouri Tigers, after a massive win last weekend against K State. And yes, I mean, a lot of you that follow me on Facebook, I mean, of course, or on Twitter, I'm a K State fan, but I'm gonna take my K State fanism out of me for today when I do talk about the Wildcats victory. But of course, the Missouri Tigers, as I was getting ready to say, after coming off that massive win last weekend against the Wildcats, they also get a win in St. Louis in the Edward Jones Dome against the Memphis Tigers. So it was the battle of the Tigers. The Mizzou Tigers hung on for a 34-27 victory over Memphis. So all three local schools come away victorious. And of course, we'll talk about Mizzou and KU, getting into the coaches and the Associated Press top 25 polls. And of course, the Wildcats also get into the coaches poll as well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about probably some of their upcoming games of this weekend as well. So lots to get to on this podcast. I just hope all of you are able to check this out now. But of course, you can feel free to go back and listen to this if you happen to miss this here live. And of course, we're coming here live here on StreamYard, and this is coming live on Facebook, Twitter. Yes, I'm going to keep saying Twitter. I don't give a crap. That name X is so stupid. I mean, whoever. I mean, of course, I'm sure. I'm forgetting who the name of the now new owner of Twitter is. I forget, but I'm gonna say Twitter, and then of course we are also coming on YouTube as well. So feel free to tune in and please leave some comments on whatever it is I'm talking about, and I just would love to see your feedback. And of course, I will make sure to find those comments. I will post them on the screen here that you can see here on your screen. And of course, I will react to those comments as well. But let's get started with those Kansas City Chiefs as they were victorious yesterday. And I tell you what, all week I was feeling so confident about this game because the Chicago Bears, I mean, I was just talking about Josh McDaniels being a train wreck himself in the NFL and being a total embarrassment of the NFL. Well, the Chicago Bears on a whole nother level are a total embarrassment to the National Football League as they just got their tails walloped by the Chiefs 41-10 as the Chiefs just had no problem whatsoever all day. The defense was fantastic, even without Nick Bolton, who was not there, who did not play due to an ankle injury. Patrick Mahomes, the bad news of the game for him, if we're just talking about Mahomes, he did get his ankle rolled up on, or I guess maybe bumped into or twisted, whatever it was. A Chicago Bears player that our left tackle probably should have done a better job blocking. He kind of rolled into Mahomes' ankle on the back side of it, and Mahomes was not the same after that. he did we they did get one more score before he did come out. And of course, I mean, it was time for the full starters to come out anyway because they were up by so much. And it was time to see what Blaine Gabbert can do, which he didn't do a whole lot. Two interceptions. So I'm kind of now back on the concerned side of things when it comes to seeing Blaine Gabbert in a game, especially a playoff game down the road. Uh, I mean, we know the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, but let's say they get into the playoffs and Mahomes somehow isn't available or gets hurt during the game. Of course, we've seen that before. I don't really feel all that comfortable with Blaine Gabbert behind center after watching him throw two awful interceptions yesterday. So that was my only concern. I'll get to my other one actually here coming up, and that's about the offensive line trying to protect Mahomes. And as far as the tackles are concerned, and of course, the right tackle, Jawan Taylor, is he ever going to wake up? But I'll get to that here in a little bit. I do want to break down some of the stats here. We'll start with the Chiefs. We'll go to some of the game stats here in just a few moments. Uh, First of all, Patrick Mahomes had an outstanding day. 24 of 33 for 272 yards on a historic day, as of course Mahomes became the fastest player in NFL history to get to 25,000 career passing yards, the fastest ever again to ever accomplish that of any quarterback in NFL history. So, congrats to Patrick Mahomes on that historic milestone. Three touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked 0 times. Had a little bit of pressure at times, and of course, as I just talked about the ankle situation, he did come back in. It was taped up. Excuse me, I was rolled up. It did get taped up, and he was able to go back out there, but he was not as effective as he was in the first half of that game and early. Yeah, just first half. Um, I had a QB rating of 127.3. Of course, I just explained Blaine Gabbert, 3 of 5 for 31 yards, two interceptions, no touchdowns. I mean, I guess if you're going to have those mistakes, have them be now against the Chicago Bears because, well, I mean, the Bears are not a quality opponent, so you might as well as have your little mistakes in this game, and then hopefully you'll correct them and not have them in the next game or the next one or the next one or the next one all going forward. The running game was very effective yesterday as Isaiah Pacheco rushed for 15 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. Clyde Edwards Hilaire, 15 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. Mahomes ran 3 times for 28 yards. Jared McKinnon had a couple carries, and he had some critical catches. Had one for a touchdown, which he was wide open on the left side. Jared McKinnon is such an effective player. Um, I think he's one of the X factors of this team. Some of the guys that you just don't really talk about that could be an absolute factor for this offense. And that's Jared McKinnon. He can, run the ball. You can get him to come out of the backfield. He can be a slot receiver too. He can do so many things. And and that's why I'm such a fan of players like that. Guys that you don't ever want to talk about, guys you don't want to ever give credit or respect to. And Jared McKinnon is definitely one of those guys. So I really appreciate him on this football team. And he was very good yesterday. And Blaine Gabbert had a couple of attempts there, had -1 rushing yard. Receiving, Travis Kelce, of course, led the way. Big shocker. Of course, it was a big day for him because his new buddy, Taylor Swift, was at the game in attendance in the suite, sitting next to Travis's mother. That was quite a moment. Hope it works out between Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, if indeed the rumors are true that they are dating. Of course, me personally, I think it's all just. I think sources like Entertainment Tonight and all these different entertainment outlets, I think they're just and social media. I think they're just playing all this up. But hey, if it's true, I hope it works out between Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift. I hope it does. If it does, and then you know that just makes the city of Kansas City that more popular. And boy, the attention. I mean, Kansas City as a whole, with the Chiefs being what they are, and of course Mahomes being a celebrity, and Kelsey being a celebrity, and Chris Jones and Andy Reid, and et cetera, et cetera. This city gets enough attention already. But just imagine if Travis Kelsey is really dating Taylor Swift. That's just going to create such a buzz around here in Kansas City. So I hope it does work out if it is true. Um, I hope it's not a short term thing, but if it is, I'm not going to be surprised because that's just how Hollywood uh, relationships are. And that's about as far as I'm going to go with that. But Travis Kelsey, as I was getting ready to say before I got into the whole Taylor Swift thing, um, 7 catches for 69 yards. Nice. 69 yards. 9.9 yards per catch, a touchdown, and total of 8 targets there for the All-Pro tight end. Rashid Rice looked really good yesterday. Much better than during the preseason. 5 catches for 59 yards. No touchdowns. Had 7 targets. Justin Watson, who's a very he's starting to become a very reliable weapon for Mahomes in this offense. 2 catches for 51 yards on 3 targets. Sky Moore, 4 catches, 42 yards on 6 targets. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 1 catch for 37 yards. It should be 2 catches, but of course, Jawaan Taylor made sure that didn't happen. I'll get to Jawaan Taylor in a minute. I'm not happy with him. Terrible sign so far for the Chiefs. Jawaan Taylor. But anyway, Valdez-Scantling, 1 catch for 37 yards on 2 targets. Should have been 2 for 2. Had 1 call back on a long touchdown run. It should have counted. Score, it should have been 48-10, not 41. But it is what it is. Jerick McKinnon, like I just talked about, 3 catches for 2 touchdowns on 3 targets for 19 yards. Isaiah Pacheco had 2 catches for 16 yards on 3 targets. Noah Gray, 1 catch for 9 yards on 2 targets. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I personally don't understand why Edwards-Helaire is still on this football team. He had a couple of good runs yesterday, but the dude's slow. It takes him forever to get going, and just don't personally understand why he continues to be on this football team. I know he was a first-round pick. Same could have been said years ago. Why is Eric Fisher still here when he was, having his struggles at times? Well, he was a first-round pick. A lot of teams probably have a hard time giving up on first-round picks because, well, hey, you're a first-round pick. You're in the early part of the draft. You were highly thought of coming out of college. You're on, for some, a national championship winning team. You were such a big part of that team, and you get drafted, and then you just have your team think so highly of you, and I'm sure that's what Andy Reid and Brett Veach and, all the coaches think of Edwards-Helaire, but not me. Now, I mean, I was a fan of the draft pick the night they took him, a few years ago, but he hasn't lived up to it. So I just don't know why he's on this football team. I could honestly say I think you could do a lot better without him. But that's just me. But of course, he did do some good things yesterday. But still, a lot of moments where you're just like, okay, why are you going to him? Okay, why are you doing this play? Going to Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Go to somebody else that's more open, that can actually run, that can actually take off with a better burst. Um, I just don't understand it. But hey, that's just me. I don't know what you guys think of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but of course, if you want to leave some comments on that, feel free to do so. If you're just tuning in, if you're just seeing this on your Facebook timeline or you're on YouTube, somehow you saw this on your YouTube homepage or whatever. If you're on Twitter, this is the Radioactive Sports Podcast, and I am Justin Parrington. We're talking about the Chiefs 41-10 thumping of the Chicago Bears. Just been going through some of the team stats or player stats for the Chiefs. I'm going to break down some of the team stats right now, and of course, I'll give another shout out to one Chris Jones. Had another big game, had another sack for the All-Pro defensive tackle. It's so good to see him back. And this defense, and I know it's the Chicago Bears, but the defense looks pretty good. Steve Spagnuolo, this could be his best defense by far, even better than the two Super Bowl winning teams. But of course, we know who carried the Chiefs to the victory in the Super Bowls. We know who did. It was the offense. Even though the defense played very well at times, a lot of times in those Super Bowls. So I'm not gonna throw total shade to the defense. But this could be easily the best overall defense that Steve Spagnuolo's had since Andy Reid hired him back in 2019. Now, let's go to some of the team stats. First downs, 31 to 11 in favor of Kansas City. Passing for we don't need to go through all the first downs. Third down efficiency, 10 for 14 the Chiefs were compared to just only 4 for 12 for the Bears. Fourth down conversions, 1 for 2 for the Bears. The Chiefs did not go for it on fourth down at all. There wasn't really any situation yesterday where the Chiefs had to do that, but I do want to see the Chiefs be more aggressive on fourth downs. I don't know how any of you people feel about that, but me, I want to see the Chiefs be more aggressive on fourth downs, especially if it's really close, like 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 1, 4th and inches, maybe 4th and 4. Try not to be like Josh McDaniels and the Raiders. Yeah, I mean, don't be like that. And of course, I'm never going to compare Andy Reid to Josh McDaniels. And hey, there's been a lot of times where Andy Reid has not been aggressive on fourth down, and you're just sitting there and you're going, like, really? You could go for this. I mean, it's just a few yards, I don't care if you're in your territory or you're deep in opponent's territory. Don't go for the field goal. I know there's been a lot of times when that's happened, but Andy Reid is not Josh McDaniels. I can't get over that, but I will explain that here coming up. I'm gonna try to really go through this real quick here, the rest of the team stats, and we'll move on to some other NFL action here in just a few minutes. Total plays. Chiefs ran 75 compared to 51 for the Bears. Total yards, 456 compared to 203. All in favor of Kansas City. Yards per play, 6.1 for the Chiefs, 4.0 for the Bears. Passing yards, 303 compared to only 87 for those lousy Bears. Justin Fields has no business being on a football field against any elite football team. Hey, go back to his press conference from a few days ago. Yeah, I gotta do better. I just gotta play football like I know how to play football. Yeah, you sound so confident there, Fields. I mean, how about perking up a smile? How about getting some energy in you, man? I mean, take some pride in yourself. Huh? I mean, take some pride. Let's go. You're a quarterback, man, of the National Football League. And I don't care if you play for the Bears, even though your team stinks and you stink. I don't care. Take some pride in yourself. Shoot. I mean, there was an obvious reason why the Chiefs are going to beat the Bears. Bears have so many problems. Okay, one, they stink out loud on all sides of the ball. Two, you have a defensive coach as your head coach. Gee, that don't work very well. Three, your quarterback is young. I don't want to throw in the factor he played at Ohio State, and Ohio State doesn't have a very good history of putting quarterbacks into the NFL, which they don't. I don't want to throw that in there as a factor, but I kind of have to. Um, but most of all, their defensive coordinator this week had to resign because of, I mean, the thing I saw was he wanted to focus on his health and his family. But I hear it's some kind of like PR disaster. There's some potential criminal action, maybe. I don't know what it was with this defensive coordinator, but of course he resigns during the week. So then Matt Eberflus, the head coach, who is a defensive coach again, he has to take over as the play caller. So he's having to put two hats on, the head coach hat, and then of course be the defensive coordinator. So you put all that together, and the overall talent on this Bears team is lacking. Like there's no talent on this team. Okay, DJ Moore, he had an impressive one-handed catch. He's a solid receiver. Um, but that's about it. I mean, Justin Fields can run. Okay, I'll give him that. Uh, but that's about it. Defensively, Charles Tillman's not there. Richard Dent's not there. The Fridge is not there. Mike Singletary's not there playing linebacker. I don't see Brian Urlacher playing linebacker. I don't see Lance Briggs there. I don't see Dick Buckus there. I don't see Mike Ditka catching passes as the tight end or being the head coach. Like those guys are not walking through the door, people. This is not your grandfather's Chicago Bears. George Halas is not there on the sideline, being an all-time great. The Bears are terrible. This was so obvious. I felt so confident. I said during the week it was going to be something like 40-3. I was pretty close. It ended up being 41-10. It should have been 48-0 because they should have had that extra touchdown, which I guess I'll get to now. Jawaan Taylor, what is wrong with this guy? This is back-to-back weeks. Actually, no, this is actually the 3 straight weeks where Jawaan Taylor is just playing like a buffoon. These penalties, man. I mean, snap out of it. And man, if I was Andy Reid, I mean, I'd be getting tough on this dude. You cannot have these self-inflicted wounds, these self-destructing penalties. Cannot do this. Because, hey, come playoff time, if he's doing this, it could be costly for the Chiefs. And yeah, I mean, I'm getting worked up about this because, and I know it's early. A lot of games left, a lot of season. And plus, it's the Chiefs. They will be fine. But man, this is so important because you got to think about down the road. You got to think about important moments. Jawaan Taylor, the Chiefs should have done their homework a lot better as far as looking at this guy. And they saw him twice last year when he was in Jacksonville. The guy is a ticking time bomb when it comes to penalties. I would not be starting this guy. I mean, these penalties are so silly. And hey, a lot of you know one thing about me. I get on the officials a lot about a lot of crap. But man, this is not one of them. The officials, you know what? They're just doing their job. Okay? If they're going to see somebody move early, they're going to call false start or a illegal formation. They're going to call that stuff on you if they see you moving early. You have to make sure that you're lined up properly. You have to make sure that you don't take off early. You have to make sure you watch the ball. Watch the ball. Use your stupid eyes, man. I mean, I know I'm getting a little animated here, but that stuff drives me crazy. Okay, I played this sport. Did I play offensive line? I did not. And thank goodness I didn't play offensive line. I would not want to have been any part of that. I told my high school coaches, I'm not playing O line. I remember the early stages of getting ready to play high school football my freshman year. I was being told, "Hey, your coaches may put you at offensive line." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I'm playing defense. I'm playing defense. I don't want to play off. I don't want to play O line." So no, I never played offensive line. Okay, I don't know what it's like to be out there and to have those kind of situations, but I do know what it's like to be on the other side and to cause a false start, to be able to have the freedom to move around without jumping off sides, obviously, which I did that a time or two, which that's embarrassing too. Um, but you just cannot have these self-inflicted wounds. You cannot do this if you expect to be, successful. If you expect to go far in the playoffs, if you expect to be a annual Super Bowl contender, you cannot do this stuff because hey, you face a certain team. Like, hey, if the Bengals are awake and Burrow's healthy and their old line's actually really good, they're gonna get you. If the Buffalo Bills, if Josh Allen stops being Superman all the time, they're gonna get you. If the defense is up and playing like they did yesterday against the Washington Commanders. Okay, hey, I said it correctly. Commanders, hey. I didn't say the wrong name. Anyway, you know, the Bills can get you. And there's just gonna be so many times where you have to be ready and you have to make sure you're thinking. And Jawan Taylor doesn't think. He doesn't think. And he did this in Jacksonville last year. There was a lot that that wild card game. Um, he did the same thing. I mean, this is probably who he is, and the Chiefs should have done their homework on Jawan Taylor. Left tackle, I wouldn't say he's any better. I'd say he's better than Jawan Taylor. Trayvon Smith, the former Buccaneer who's now with the Chiefs. Of course, he's responsible for letting Mahomes' ankle get rolled up on. Thanks a lot, Smith. I know it was an accident, and I know that's a freakish situation. I know things like that happen, but these tackles are um, they're not reliable so far, and you know, um, this is just one of the few bugaboos that I've had for Andy Reid since he's been here as head coach of the Chiefs. Which I do want to get to Andy Reid here in just a moment because he also had a milestone victory yesterday as well. But I do want to close this though about the situation or the issues with the Chiefs left tackles or their tackles, not just left tackles, but their tackles. Um, if there's been one thing or one issue the Chiefs have had since Andy's been here, they just can't seem to they can't seem to produce or find a quality left or right tackle. Now, I mean, say what you want about Eric Fisher. I know he made a couple of Pro Bowls, and I mean he was solid at times, but the dude got beat quite a bit, pretty often when he was up against whoever it was. I mean, there was a lot of times he was very unreliable, and he would get Alex Smith or Patrick Mahomes killed. Um, and of course, both those quarterbacks are very mobile. They can move out of the pocket, and they had to because Eric Fisher would not, he would not block his guy a lot of times, and he was just very unreliable. Andrew Wiley was very unreliable a lot of times. Of course, now he's in Washington playing for the Commanders. Hey, I said again correctly. Hey, good for me. Um, I'm just I'm sorry, people. I'm just I'm irritated with the whole name change. So I'm just kind of maybe I'm making fun of people that take that seriously. Look, I understand that we don't want things to be, we don't want people to be offended by stuff. We don't want these issues. But hey, these names stuck for years and years and years. So, and my problem is I'm such a stickler to my childhood, to what I've known since I've been around this world. So for baseball, it was always the Cleveland Indians. Football, Washington Redskins, Kansas City Chiefs, Florida State Seminoles, Atlanta Braves. I mean, these names, I don't see the biggest problem with them at all. But anyway, I know I'm getting off of the subject here. I just anyway, but he's now playing for the Commanders. The Chiefs just they don't bring in the best tackles in the NFL. They don't always have the best tackle on either side. And I just wish that would change because the interior of the line is really good with Creed Humphrey, you got Joe Tooney, and you got Trey Smith. So you don't have to worry about the interior, but the outside with the tackles is my concern. And I just hope Smith and I hope Taylor, I hope they step up because they're going to have to. And Jawan Taylor, he's going to have to seriously knock out some cobwebs in that brain of his because I don't know what else to say. I mean, the, if he continues to do this, he's going to find himself not only benched but potentially off the team and getting a bus pass, a pink slip. I mean, you've got to seriously clean up your act, man. You got to clean up these penalties. You cannot have these, and I think it's going to take more coaching from Andy Reid. It's going to take more coaching from offensive line coach Andy Heck to get this guy just to tell him, hey, you've got to be dead on focus. And outside of that, he's fine. He's actually been blocking pretty good, actually. I think there's been a couple instant situations, couple of plays in the first 3 weeks where he let his guy go, and maybe he almost got Mahomes sacked or got Mahomes hurt, maybe. But outside of that, outside the penalties, he's been solid. So if you just get those things cleaned up, get the penalties out of his head, and he starts thinking better, starts staying in his stance and lining up more properly, he'll be fine. And this team will be a much better football team if they got its tackles playing much better football going forward. Okay, so last thing on the Chiefs, Andy Reid had a big day yesterday as Big Red, of course, made some NFL history, passing legendary Dallas Cowboys head coach, the late great Tom Landry, on the all-time wins list as far as coaches is concerned. Andy Reid is now fourth all-time after getting win number 271. He was tied with Tom Landry at 270. Of course, Bill Belichick got number 330, which now puts him 17 away from tying the great late Don Shula, the legendary Baltimore Colts. Yes, for those that don't know, the Colts used to be in Baltimore before they went to Indianapolis, thanks to one Bob Irsay, or is it Rob? No, it's Bob. I think it's Bob Irsay, the dad of the now not so great owner Jim Irsay, the son. Anyway, his dad didn't tell anybody. And I'm getting off. I'm just I love talking about things like this because they stick with me because I've seen it so many times. I've seen the video of the moving truck. It was the Mayflower. Um, but anyway, so it was overnight. They packed up everything one night, and Ursay, the dad, not Jim, but his dad. He didn't tell a soul, a single soul at all. None of the fans, nobody in Baltimore. Hey, we're moving to Indiana. We're moving to Indianapolis, and they just left. I mean, overnight, got everything moved out, gone. So, but before all of that, they were in Baltimore. Don Shula was the head coach for the Colts, and then of course he went to the Miami Dolphins, which is where he became well known. Of course, the undefeated 1972 Dolphins squad, Dan Marino. He's got the most all-time wins at 347, but Belichick is now 17 wins away. And I gotta be really honest, I don't see Belichick getting close to Don Shula's record. I don't see it. But Belichick is 17 wins away from tying Don Shula after getting win over 330 yesterday as the Patriots somehow, some way, some fashion beat the Jets 15-10. Which the Chiefs play the Jets next. But congrats to Andy Reid. Like I said earlier, when I was talking about Josh McDaniels, which I will talk about here in just a few moments. We'll talk about the Broncos as well. They're a disaster. The AFC West as a whole is a disaster. The Chargers, I'm not going to rule them out just yet, even though they will charger it. They will choke. They almost did it yesterday to the Minnesota Vikings, who are now, of course, they got their own problems. But I really appreciate Andy Reid so much being the head coach of the Chiefs. He's just been such a difference maker since he came here in 2013, which was the same year I was an intern at Union Broadcasting, which is of course is where Sports Radio 810 and ESPN Kansas City. It wasn't known as ESPN Kansas City back then. It was simply, I think it was KCXL 1510. But anyway, that's the home of those stations. I was an intern there, and I believe it was my very first day. I think it was my very first day as an intern. My broadcast performance, or not performance, but my radio production teacher at Johnson County Community College, Ben Mesner. Shout out to Ben Mesner. Of course, I know you're not watching this because you have no idea I'm doing this. But shout out to you, Ben. Hope you're doing well. He works at Sports Radio 810 at Union Broadcasting, does production, all that. He tells me when I show up, and I'm in Ben's in his office, and he tells me, "You just miss Andy Reid." I'm like, "What? What? I just miss Andy Reid? Are you serious?" So I was pretty stunned. I was surprised because he had just left. He was on the morning show on the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And of course, I later talked about this when I was at JUCO. I had my radio show. I think it was, was it? Did I get to be Radioactive Sports by that time? Maybe not. It might have been known as a Sports Hour at the time. But I was doing a show in the studios at JUCO, and I had some guests on. And honestly, I forget how I brought this up, but I started talking about how I almost met Andy Reid. So we had a blast talking about that. But no, it made me think back to that. So I really appreciate Big Red being our head coach, all these years. He's just been such a huge ambassador to the city. He's been such a huge influence to this franchise. He has turned the Chiefs from being a laugher into I'd say now the Chiefs are one of the more historic franchises in the history of the National Football League because of just this particular run. But you put this run, then you put everything else together, as far as winning history with the Chiefs, the Lynn Dawsons of the world, Hank Stram, Derek Thomas, Tony Gonzalez, Maury Schottenheimer era, even the Dick Vermeil era with Priest Holmes, Trent Green, Willie Roaf, John Tate, Brian Waters, Casey Wedman. I can go on and on and on with this franchise. It is a quality franchise, and I know the Chiefs have had their lows. Trust me. And of course, that came before Andy Reid, Todd Haley, and Romeo Cornell. And you go back to the '80s before Marty Schottenheimer, Frank Gantz. I'm trying to think. Some of our coaches. Oh shoot. Who was the coach before Frank Gantz? Well, you had Marv Levy, the legendary Bills head coach, who was there too with the Chiefs before he went to the Buffalo Bills and became a well-known household name for the Bills. John Makovic? I think it's John Makovic, who later on would coach the Texas Longhorns down the road after he was with the Chiefs, and he wasn't very good then either. Oh, there's a few others too. It was a pretty rough patch after Hank Stram left as head coach. The Chiefs were not very good back then either. But this franchise has had a lot of history of success, and Andy Reid is the greatest coach in franchise history. And I want to thank him and congratulate him on this massive victory, this massive milestone, passing a legend like Tom Landry. Hey, that's something to be proud of, man. I'd be so thrilled. I'd be so proud of myself if I was in Andy's shoes, passing Tom Landry. That is so cool. Again, Andy Reid gets victory number 271. This includes playoffs as well, playoffs and regular season. As again, he passes Dallas Cowboys icon Tom Landry on the all-time wins list as far as coaches is concerned. Okay, let's do real quickly other NFL action this weekend. We'll start with those Denver Broncos. Oof, 70-20. You heard me correctly. That's not a well, I would say misprint, but I don't have it typed up on the screen here. I don't have it on there. But that's not an error. That's not something that I'm not misspoken here. 70-20, the Miami Dolphins spank the Denver Broncos. First of all, for all Broncos fans, and again, I know I have one friend that's a Broncos fan, also a K-State fan too. And then I have a couple of family members that are Broncos fans. So listen, I do feel sorry for Broncos fans. You should not endure. It really, well, maybe Patriots fans, maybe. Do I say Cowboys fans? Maybe. Do I go all Stephen A. Smith and think so badly of Cowboys fans? No, I won't do that. But no fan base should ever see their team lose that bad. That is embarrassing. Sean Payton, what were you thinking taking this job? I mean, seriously, Sean Payton, were you on drugs when you signed with the Denver Broncos? Like, dude, you should have stayed retired. Or you probably should have just held on or held off until the Cowboys job got open and become head coach of the Cowboys. Because there's far more talent on the Dallas Cowboys than there is on the Denver Broncos. I mean, let's just be real here. The Broncos have some talent, but that's ridiculous. 726 yards of offense given up by the Broncos defense. That's tied for second most in a game in NFL history. 10 touchdowns allowed. 10 touchdowns scored by the Dolphins offense. Tied for second most in a game in NFL history. And as I explained earlier, 70 points, it's the fourth time in NFL history that a team's done that, and the most points ever put up by one team, 1940 Chicago Bears against the Washington, I'm just going to say it, Redskins in the 1940 NFL championship game. They scored 73 on Washington. That's the most. But this is the fourth time, the first time since 1966 that an NFL team has put up 70 points. So this is unbelievable. And I tell you this makes me terrified of having to look forward to the November matchup of the Chiefs and Dolphins in Germany uh, coming up, in uh, more than a month from now. So I'm not looking forward to seeing the Chiefs play the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to absolutely now. I mean, a lot of stuff can happen, by then, but oh, that's gonna be a scary matchup for the Chiefs defense going up against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and of course, if Tua is healthy, Tua Tagovailoa, those guys they mean business and they can play some serious offense. They can play some football, man. They're good, and that defense is no slouch either. So, and how about that? How about Vic Fangio getting a victory against his old team yesterday, the Denver Broncos? That's another thing. Um, okay, this might be a little controversial, but I'm just going to say this. I think some of this for the Broncos. I know I said it earlier. I think being a Chiefs fan. I think it's you know a long time coming for the Broncos to kind of have their window of not being very good, which is that's been happening because for years I saw the Broncos being good year in year out, while the Chiefs had their really good years, but didn't matter. Then okay years, but then really bad. Then while watching the Broncos being successful, going to the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl at times, unless you talk about the one against the Seahawks, then you didn't. Um, but like Carolina Panthers, Super Bowl 50, John Elway, the back-to-back championships with one ex-Chief Neil Smith. In the late 90s. Of course, I was pretty little back then, but I know about it. And then, of course, but I was going to say, but I think some of this also, I think this is karma for Sean Payton because Sean Payton is a cheater, folks. He's a cheater. The whole bounty scandal with the Saints. If there's a reason why the NFL, if there's a reason why the Saints had all those heartbreaking losses in the playoffs against the Vikings, against the was the Rams, the pass interference call in the NFC Championship game in 2019 or 18, excuse me, not 19 but 18. Um, if there's a reason why some of that happened, it's not because the NFL hates the state of New Orleans, or I mean Louisiana, excuse me, the city of New Orleans. They don't hate the city. They don't hate the fans. They don't like Sean Payton. Sean Payton cheated. The whole bounty scandal under ex defensive coordinator Greg Williams when he was paying players to hit other opposing players, to kill them, knock them out of games. You can't do that. I think the NFL's been getting back at Sean Payton. All those heartbreaking losses, it's because of that. And now it's falling over with him again in Denver. Now Broncos fans are going to have to suffer with a lot of heartbreaking losses, bad losses, all because Sean Payton is not a likable person. He is not a likable head coach, and he's a cheater. And again, I said it last night on Twitter about Josh McDaniels, how it makes me appreciate how Andy Reid is the head coach of the Chiefs. Well, here's another example. I would rather the Chiefs franchise fold than Sean Payton be the head coach. I would rather see the Chiefs franchise fold and leave before Payton would become the next head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Serious. If Sean Payton was the last coach on earth, I would not want him. No. That's how strongly I feel about Sean Payton. You may know your offense, pal. You are not. You are not an elite head coach. Maybe once upon a time you were. 2009 when you won the Super Bowl, but of course that's when the bounty scandal was going on. And the NFL didn't do anything about it until 2 years later. Um, but yeah, just not not a likable guy, and I think in a lot of ways Broncos fans I think deserve better. Um, Even though, again, I said, being a Chiefs fan, I think this has been, some time coming. Even though 8 years of bad football, that's a long window of struggling, of not finding the right head coach, not having the right players, not having the right quarterback, and just so many other things, going on to where you just struggle all the time. Um, but you don't need Sean Payton. Russell Wilson should just retire. What? Why go through this? Why? Russell's going through Nathaniel Hackett, the son of former Chiefs offensive coordinator um, Paul Hackett. Let's remember the first name there for a minute. He was under Marty Schottenheimer's staff in the late '90s. Was not a very good play caller. Oh, gee, I wonder how that. Wonder who else isn't a very good play caller. Oh, Nathaniel. He's not either. Gee, like father, like son. Um, and then now you got this whole thing with Sean Payton, who is a raw guy. He likes to hear himself talk. He's kind of like Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach of the Missouri Tigers. Although the funny thing is, I would take Eli Drinkwitz over Sean Payton. I would. Even though Eli himself, he's got his own issues, you know? Um, but I don't think he would set up some kind of bounty scandal and he would pay his players to kill other opposing players, like kill Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game in 2009. I don't think he would do that. I don't think. I don't think Eli's that evil, that stupid. But Sean Payton, you know what? You had this coming because the NFL is getting back at you for what you did years ago. This is why all this is happening. This is not because the Broncos are too well. We know the Broncos are not very good, and the Dolphins are really good. I mean, that's one of the big reasons the Dolphins are really good. They can score with anybody. They are really good. But Sean Payton, you're an embarrassment to the national. You are a true embarrassment to the National Football League. You are. And again, if you were the last coach on earth and the Chiefs needed a new coach, I would rather see the Chiefs fold as a franchise and leave Kansas City. And I know. I mean, you hear all you Kansas City fans, you hear me say that. Sorry, but would you want Sean Payton as your head coach? I don't think so. Broncos fans, you deserve better. What you're getting is crap. Now, is it probably music to a lot of Chiefs fans' ears? Yes. And it is to me, but hey, every fan base deserves a head coach that does things the right way. Everyone needs an Andy Reid as a head coach. Can we all agree with that? Can we all agree that every team needs an Andy Reid for a head coach? Yes. Don't need Sean Payton's. No Sean Payton's. Sean Payton, and this is why Roger Goodell is such a terrible commissioner. The fact Okay, he only gets suspended for the entire 2000. Was it 10? Was it 2010 or no? It might be 2011. Suspended the entire year. Oh, then you bring him back in. You wuss, wuss. This is this is one of the main this is one of the main reasons why I don't respect Adele, because he just doesn't know a good punishment. He doesn't know what a good punishment is. He doesn't know how to put the hammer down. To quote one, Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Chiefs, "Put the hammer down, baby." Anyway, enough talking about the Broncos. Let's talk about the Raiders. How about that? How about them Raiders? How about the Raiders? Screwing up that potential victory last night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 23-18 was the final score. Pittsburgh, a classic old-fashioned ugly win for the Steelers, but yet it was also a classic typical Raiders loss because, like the Broncos, the Raiders have a buffoon for a head coach too, but at least Josh McDaniels doesn't set up any bounty scandals, even though he is a complete buffoon for a different reason. And here's how, and I'm going to explain this. So they're down 23-15. It's like 4th and I think 6 with like 3:15 to go in the ball game. They got 3 timeouts. What does Josh McDaniels do? He goes for a field goal instead of going for it. And they're down by 8 points, okay? So let's just think this through. If they get a touchdown, the Raiders are all suddenly they're down by a point. Maybe they tie it up. Maybe if they go for 2. Actually, okay. Let's rethink this here. 20. That's 5 points. 6. No, they'd be up by a point if they would go for 2. But say they get a touchdown, extra point, they're down by a point with maybe 2 something to go, with all 3 timeouts. You get a stop. Plus, you have the 2-minute warning. So all of this is in your advantage, Josh McDaniels. All of this is in your favor, man. Okay? But anyway, so they go for the field goal on 4th and 6, I think. They get bailed out by a stupid penalty by the Pittsburgh Steelers, which honestly, I don't think they committed. It was for using leverage. A lineman jumped to try to block the field goal. He tried to jump over a Raiders player, and he used leverage. They say he used his right hand, which clearly I did not see. I'm sitting there, I'm literally like sitting on my bed watching this game, and I'm like, what? Where's the leverage? Where's that being used? I don't see it. Okay, so that happens. So Raiders get a new fresh set of downs. They waste them. So it's 4th and 4. McDaniels again goes for the field goal. Now, I will say it did go through, so they got points, but it's 4 yards, man. And you had 2 something left. You had 3 timeouts, and you had the 2-minute warning all in your favor. I mean, are you kidding me? Now, being a Chiefs fan, this is wonderful because I don't like the Raiders. In fact, I hate the Raiders. Okay? They're a buffoon of a franchise to begin with, and Josh McDaniels is a boob of a head coach. I mean, he's terrible. And he wasn't very good when he was with the Broncos either. Another coach Broncos fans didn't deserve. And funny story, 2010, or no, it was 2009. I think it was 2009 when Todd Haley was head coach of the Chiefs, and they're playing the Broncos in Mile High, and the Broncos are at the end running the score up on the Chiefs. Which, hey, you know what? That's one of my things is I don't care about running the score up on somebody. It's part of the game. You got to play until the whistle blows, until the final clock ticks 0. You got to play until it's over. And then Todd Haley comes over at the end, and normally coaches shake hands, say good game, hey, we'll see you down the road, hey, good luck. No, it's Todd Haley going, you run the score up on me. I don't like that. He did that to McDaniels. That's my funny story with Josh McDaniels and the Chiefs years ago. But McDaniels, dude, you are stupid, man. I mean, you were just Bill Belichick's right hand man carrying his golf bags. I mean, and Tom Brady. I mean, let's be honest. Here's why Josh McDaniels gets all the credit about knowing offense. It's because Tom Brady made him look so good. Josh McDaniels doesn't know anything about offense. He doesn't know football. He doesn't know squat. He's a terrible head coach. And again, I said this about Sean Payton. I'll say this about McDaniels. If he was the last coach on earth, I would rather see the Chiefs fold as a franchise and move. Goodbye. I wouldn't want McDaniels as the head coach of the Chiefs. He's a train wreck. That game last night was a train wreck, people. It was awful. It was awful. Awful. 4th and 4. After the first time, you didn't go for it on 4th down, but 2 or 3 yards shorter. 4th and 4. You got 3 timeouts. You got the 2-minute warning. 2 something left before the 2-minute warning. All that's in your favor, and you go for a field goal. And then you burn all the timeouts because you got to get another stop to get the ball back. Okay, they did that. They did that. But do you know how much time was left on the clock, people? Like 19 seconds. Actually, no, it was a little less than that, actually, because then they get the ball, and then they throw an interception, and that was it with 5 seconds left. Ball game. I mean, it was so hilarious, but I'm sitting there, I'm going, "Are you serious?" I mean, I was like Dick Vitale, "Are you serious? Are you serious, America?" I mean, it was unbelievable, unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching with my own eyes. Of course, I should believe it because it happens every week. There is going to be some head scratching moment where you're just like, "Are you kidding? I mean, are you absolutely kidding me? This is unbelievable, unbelievable." Okay, enough about that. Let's quickly get into some college football. Wrap this up. KU, K State, Mizzou. KU bounce. Oh no, not bounce, but they are now 4-0 for the second time in 2 years. They beat newcomer BYU pretty handily. Jalen Daniels is just he's a phenomenal player for the Jayhawks, and the defense. Woo! That Kobe Bryant, Jiminy, that hit and that scoop and score. Well, that was something to watch there. Of course, I was really trying to watch that Colorado Oregon game on Saturday. That was a no show of a performance for Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes. Hopefully, they'll bounce back, but the Jayhawks looked really good, and I tell you, they're going to be a scary team. I think on Saturday in Austin. Go Jayhawks! Beat Texas. I'm telling you, even I'm a K State fan. I'll just say that, but I don't like Texas one bit. So go KU on Saturday at 2:30 on ABC playing the Longhorns. That's gonna be a good ball game. I think KU is gonna give Texas a scare, and I think KU can pull off the upset personally. But KU did win their game on Saturday. If I can go to this real quick, um, yeah, I don't really see it here. I have to go to the college football scores. I know this makes really good podcast broadcasting here. All this pausing and everything, but let's go to some of the scores here. Go down the screen. KU won 38-27. Jalen Daniels again was just so phenomenal for KU. I think the biggest thing again is that defense of theirs is the story of the game. The secondary is really good. The defensive line held them to 9 yards rushing. if that serves me correct there. Rushing yards. Yeah, 9 yards rushing, while KU put up 221 yards of rushing against the Cougars of BYU. Total yards of offense, 351 for now. This is funny. I mean, BYU actually outgained KU total yards wise. It's because KU did give up some passing yards through the air. They did allow 357, but I think the secondary is a lot better for KU. And of course, one Kobe Bryant with that jarring hit and that fumble and that scoop and score was phenomenal for the Jayhawks. So um, good stuff there. K State bounces back with a win against Central Florida, 44-31. Like the Chiefs game against the Bears yesterday. I'm not counting that last touchdown. That's garbage time points. Garbage time points is so stupid. I think it's really 44-24. It was not as close as it looked. K-State looked really good. They could still be better defensively. Will Howard needs to get better passing, but of course he's not healthy. And I really want to see Chris Kleinman and Colin Klein start using true freshman quarterback Avery Johnson more because he's healthy. And I got to be honest, I think he's a little more talented than Will Howard is. So actually, not a little, he's a lot. He can do everything for the Wildcats. So, yeah, so K State has got some work to do, but they're, of course, going to be off this week. They'll travel to Stillwater, taking on a struggling Cowboys team a week from this Friday night at 6:30 on ESPN. I think K State should not bounce back, but they should come off the bye week and get a victory there. It's Stillwater, and the Mizzou Tigers, of course, look good in their victory against the Memphis Tigers. A little bit of a fight, but it wasn't a blowout, but it was a good, nice, competitive game. But the Mizzou Tigers actually do win 34-27. Real quick, both KU and Mizzou get into both top 25 polls. Mizzou is at number 23 in the AP poll. Let's just go to this real quick here before we are done for the day. Oh, come on, phone. Come on. Pull up. Okay, here we go. Here's the top 25 poll. Mizzou at number 23, KU 24. K-State is the top vote getter as far as receiving votes with 57. So hopefully they can sneak back into the top 25 of the Associated Press poll next week. The coaches poll, Mizzou's 22, KU 24, and then K-State gets in at number 25. So all three local schools for the first time in ages are at least in the same poll in one of the two polls. So good stuff there from the local schools. That's going to put a wrap on this podcast here today. I know I was a little animated here today, but I could not stand watching the Broncos game. It was so bad. And then the Raiders. I mean, these teams are terrible. This AFC West is a write-off. I hope some of you can hopefully pick up a Seinfeld reference. I hope you what's a write-off? And then if you go, no, you should ask me, you don't even know what a write-off is. And then I'll go, hey, do you? And you go, no, I don't. And then I'll say, well, they're doing it, and they're the ones writing it off. I know I crack myself up. And I'm a big Seinfeld fan, but no, the AFC West is a total write-off. It really is. It's over. The Chiefs are going to win an 8th straight division title. Well, I mean, the Chargers, I guess you can't really count them out just yet. And I know it's early, 0-3 Broncos, 1-2 Raiders, but still, those two teams are just so far apart as far as from the other two teams in the AFC West. But the Chargers are even bad too in their own way. They blow games. The Chiefs, they're going to be fine. So, the AFC West, you can pretty much just say it goes through Kansas City and it's going to go through KC until proven otherwise. But no, that's going to officially wrap this up here today. Thanks for tuning into this podcast. Hope you guys somewhat did check this out here live, hopefully. If not, just feel free to, watch this later on either on your Facebook timeline, on your Facebook page, or check this out on YouTube. Just type in Radioactive Sports, and then you'll see my page, or you'll see my YouTube channel. Click on that. I think you need to go to live videos to watch this. So once you're there, you'll see today's podcast. Watch it there. Leave comments if you want to. I do want to see some comments, some feedback on here on Facebook or on YouTube. And then, of course, Twitter. Go on your Twitter handle if you missed this, and you can find it there too. So that's where you'll find this podcast here today if you did not catch it here live at this very moment. And of course, we've been coming here live here on StreamYard through all 3 social media platforms. That's going to do it. I'm Justin Parrington. Thanks for tuning in, and I will be back for the next edition of this podcast next time. And hopefully next time I'll have more viewers. Hopefully more of you will be tuning in. You've been watching the Radioactive Sports Podcast here on StreamYard. I don't know why I'm stumbling here, why I'm forgetting the name here. But anyway, so long, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday and have a great week. And then, of course, have a great weekend. Go Chiefs! Go beat those Jets, Jets. See you later, everybody.